Virgo's at the bridge. Black alert.
Welcome to the Black Alert Podcast, your melanated reference for all things Star Trek across all four quadrants. Today, the Bridge crew, Tia, Travis, Grace, Dre, Shaniqua. What's going on, guys?
What's up?
Hey, I have
What's
thoughts.
going on?
You have
We have
thoughts?
thoughts.
Yeah, we had a lot of thoughts on this one.
Let's
The
hear what
timeline
you
was
got.
hot.
We'll be discussing the season finale of Star Trek Discovery, That Hope Is You, Part 2, directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi, written by Michelle Paradise. Let's dive in. Let's see what you have to say, Grace. What's going on? Radiation poisoning, time is running out.
Radiation poisoning, time is running out. Like, ship is clearly falling apart. And who shows up but Adira with the pills that she stole from Booker last episode. Look at Adira. Look at how beautiful they are as a Zahian.
Makeup was.
They
on
wore
point.
that makeup well. That was a good makeup job right there.
I think Blue looks great as a Zahian.
You know, my question about the Zahian, though, is I may have mentioned this before in another podcast. This is another planet filled with dilithium, and they just happen to make them Zahian, which is another planet filled with dilithium that resonated with a person who was born there. So I'm just saying, I feel like that there was a reason there.
I wonder what that was.
I mean, I felt like the Hollow, whoever, like, I guess Dr. Issa would be the programmed it. There isn't really any rhyme or reason to the races selected because it made Saru human, but
Mhm.
Michael, who was already human, became Trill, and then Hugh, who is also human, became Bajoran. So it's not like humans aren't available as a choice. It's not like they couldn't have stayed the same. But the Hollow was just like, you know what? Let's make it a little spicy. You
Sprinkle a little bit. A little bit of everybody.
It's kind of cool though because Michael went into the Trill bath in the temple in
Yeah.
episode 3 or 4, I believe. And so that was a really cool playback to that. I think a Trill Michael would be pretty awesome.
Now we also see someone else this episode who
We do.
is finally visible.
Like, we see
We
someone
see
else.
you.
Mhm.
But
Great.
it's not just we as the audience
I mean,
seeing Gray.
Vulcan.
They see.
Everyone
Mhm.
Gray.
Gray was fantastic.
Honestly, I'm trying to figure out. So for Hugh and Saru to be able to see Gray, I assume that there must have been a serious advancement in holographic technology, where
life forms?
yes, where somehow I don't know if maybe there's a telepathic aspect to it where you can project people from your thoughts, or maybe there's a special Trill weirdness with the holograms now.
I don't know if it's something so much as the technology everywhere has evolved. I think it might be
Mhm.
something specific to the Hollow that Dr. Issa built.
Mm.
Yeah, it was like this subspace resonance. I think they mentioned, like with all the dilithium. I'm going to say dilithium a lot this episode. With all the dilithium on that planet, like the subspace resonance with whatever it is that makes Gray still appear to Adira made it register to the computer as another entity, and they just applied whatever they applied to the computer applied to the other folks to this entity, which happened to be Gray, who looked amazing as a Vulcan.
Also amazing.
Oh my God, that outfit, the blue hair. I mean, Gray was an amazing Vulcan.
I think, like, I know that actual other Vulcans, Navarre, however we're addressing them individually, I don't think they would ever do hair dye. I said this on Twitter, like, I don't think Vulcans would do hair dye because to them, you know, hair dye, vanity, that's not logical kind of thing. But please, Vulcans, can we get Vulcans with different hair colors? More Vulcans with blue hair, white hair, gray hair, like Vulcans with style, please.
Vulcans with those
looks
coats.
absolutely amazing as a Vulcan. This coat, the way the coat moves, the strut, the walk.
Sachet.
Well, we did
Stay
see
away, work the runway, please.
we do see different. If you ever watch the series Enterprise, we do get Vulcans with different color hair, but they still had that same bowl cut deal that was going on. And I'm like, come on, let's not. So it is refreshing to see that in the 32nd century with the Navarre and all that, we have Vulcans who are bald. We have Vulcans who have different hairstyles. Same with the Romulans too. They had different hairstyles. They rolled up, they rolled up to disco with their different hairstyles to listen to Michael, and I was like, thank you so much. So it was good to see that too.
Yeah.
But yes, Gray absolutely killed it as a Vulcan hologram. It was great. I loved it.
And
Okay,
so,
yeah. Oh,
in
Stacey.
that part of the episode, we get an answer to a theory that Grace put forth in the previous episode.
Well, we get confirmation, explicit confirmation that Su'Kal himself is the cause of the burn. And not even just that Su'Kal is the cause of the burn, but that the moment of the burn occurred at the moment that Su'Kal's mother, Dr. Issa, passed away. And it was that explosion of grief that caused the burn to ripple through subspace because of Su'Kal's unique physiology with the dilithium. So everywhere he resonated with dilithium, and that's what caused the burn. Dun dun dun! We figured it out.
Yep. And here was the crazy part. Like, you see during the kind of the run back of his memory in the Hollow program before it shuts down, you see it, and it ties very neatly into when Michael was saying the burn didn't happen all at once. There was these little intervals, several like milliseconds apart, that just brought it home right there.
It's like when they describe grief as like waves of grief, and that's literally
Yeah.
what the galaxy felt.
I think Dr. Culber referred him to as a polyploid, which that was like a weird term. But yes,
I had to Google that one. I was like,
I'll go with it.
I used to be a biology major, and I was like, oh, that's why I didn't get a degree in it.
I'm like, what?
What is a polyploid, by the way?
Yeah.
Let me Google. It's a condition in which the cells of an organism have more than two paired sets of chromosomes.
Okay.
What?
So
the dilithium.
Some of his chromosomes are dilithium-y and some of them are not, and that is why he is the way he is, because of exposure to the radiation on the dilithium planet in utero while his cells and chromosomes were still dividing.
So the child of dilithium.
Wonder if that explains why he's still like physically young as well. Like he hasn't. That's why he's 125 years old.
You fancy.
That could be it, but also in that aspect, we don't know that much about how Kelpians age, because before we left the past, Kelpians only lived as long as they were going to up to a certain time, and then when they hit Baha'i, they were cold. Mm-hmm. So as it stands, like canon-wise, I don't know that we know the lifespan of a Kelpian. In the episode previously, Saru looks at the Elder Hollow that's supposed to teach him about Kelpian history, and they mention that this is the oldest Kelpian that Saru has ever seen. Like, we have no idea how long Kelpians could possibly live. So, I mean, as far as we know, he just looks the way he looks. I mean, yes, he's mentally immature because of his situation, but maybe he just looks the way he looks because that's how Kelpians look up to a certain point.
Maybe how crazy would that be for Saru to just realize, oh yeah, I'm gonna live to be like 300.
Right? He had this look on his face like, this is my future for
You know
real?
what?
Like, for
Wow.
all we know, like, Sarana could still be alive if
Yeah.
Kelpians live a super, super long time. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
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 I mean, he's going back to Kaminar, as we find out with Saru. So, be free, essentially. Hopefully, he can keep his emotions under control, because when he went super, he was. The ship can't last.
The Dragon
Yeah.
Ball Z type thing.
He got upset at one point, and he started yelling, and I was like, dude, you can't do that. You need
You need to
inside
send him
voice
to
the
Navarre
nth
and
degree.
let him learn from the Vulcans, right? Like,
I hope Saru has a hypo spray filled with like Xanax when he flips out.
No, and I think it's really sweet that in the message that we get, the very, very loving motherly message that we get from Dr. Pisa, that she mentions, if he cries, and then corrects herself, it's like, when he cries, just do this. Only a parent really knows. I just thought that was super, super sweet.
And Saru's becoming a bit of a parent now.
Saru is another space dad at this
He's
point.
a space dad.
Show's getting full of them.
Yeah. All right, we got the Emerald Chain attacking Federation headquarters. This is the battle here.
First of all, that looked like a scene right out of Star Trek Online. I mean, the way the Discovery was kind of like circling, firing its phasers, I was like, this is right from STO.
Yes.
It was gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. The special effects guys were doing a great job, but it looked like it, and as somebody who plays way too much, it really stood out for me.
We got a Voyager shout out. I don't know if anybody heard that.
Voyager J.
I was like,
With the emergency command hologram of Catherine Janeway. We decided that last week. That's
I really wanted to see a shot of the bridge. It's like Janeway hologram just sitting there.
I can't. And we've got Osira and the Chain, attempting to escape with Discovery. Zara, crazy man. Aurelio and Osira with the Truth Serum, using it on Booker. That was a deep moment. That was a scary moment, actually.
Yes, it was.
You know what, Osira, I was about ready to come through that screen, because when she slapped my girl Michael, I was like, what are you doing?
Girl.
No, because that was disrespectful as hell. The Klingons didn't even try to slap her. And she rolled up in their house to kill them.
See, that's what I liked about it, because it immediately transferred like the rivalry between Tilly and Osira to Michael and Osira. It's like, oh yeah, Tilly, she didn't do anything to Tilly like this. Michael is now her arch enemy.
Dude, I was sitting here watching it. If I had been wearing earrings, I would be like, take off earrings, tie hair back. We are ready to go. You cannot, do not. Fight mode activated. Look, you hit all of us. Yes. I am ready to go to town. I was so mad.
Do you guys think that she slapped Michael because she saw her more of as a threat or an equal?
That's what she said, right? When she's like, I'm starting to like you.
Like you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it shows maybe Osira cracking. I think I would say, because up until this point she's been very cool, very collected. I said last episode she was a Virgo with a plan, and at this point her best laid plans are not. So things are falling apart, and when stuff falls apart, you get reckless. I'm slapping hoes. Let's deal with it.
And she was about to use biological warfare.
Yes, she was going to use the
she was about to use biological warfare against the Federation and the Navarrans. And I was just like, wow, okay, wow.
Well, that was the thing. The whole time, from the time she left Federation headquarters, she was on her back foot. She was desperate. Yeah. She didn't have any real way out. It was her and it was the Discovery and Viridian against the entire Federation fleet, the Federation starbase, and what we later found out was the Navarre fleet. I mean, she was always always at a disadvantage. And yeah, I mean, I think Grace is spot on. She was like, I'm desperate now, and she was cracking.
But it's but you think about it, you think about how important Michael is to the Navarans, that they showed up when she called. Right?
Yeah.
I think
Unless that was Mama Burnham.
because she called mom. She went back through space and time. We don't even know how many times just to save Michael,
Yep.
just to make sure Michael's okay. She watched Michael grow up from a distance. She mom is gonna protect her child. So I am not at all surprised that the Navarre came after Michael called mom.
I don't think she even asked for anybody for help. She just immediately marched to a ship, and they're like, "Where's she going?" And he just followed her.
Oh, is she
She
Bob's
had said
sister?
something.
Oh, okay. We down.
Mm-hmm.
Because they mentioned in Unification 3 that her tie to Spock is also part of the reason why they trust Michael more than most.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so between Mama Burnham and Michael's status as Spock's sister, I think that's what got them there. Well, I mean, Osira was about to infect them all. So,
Yeah.
The last thing Michael wants is to come this far and to do all what she's done with the Navarre, and then have the entire fleet. Who knows who important people was on those ships? Have the entire fleet infected with some insidious pathogen that would just tarnish all the goodwill that she built with the Navarres. Michael thinking on her feet, because I know I wouldn't have come up with a plan that fast.
No.
Exactly.
But Osira too, though, right? Osira realized, okay, well, Michael is a problem here, and so are the folks in the lower decks if they manage to get to her. So you know what? We'll suffocate them all. Yeah, the extra suffering, which shows her anger and shows really how petty she is.
Very.
Virgo's gonna Virgo, okay? Virgo gonna Virgo.
It was kind of some standard like mustache twirling villain business, like Bond villain stuff. Like, why go through the long thing? Why Doctor Evil the situation?
Yeah,
Know?
but it gives Owo, like, it makes Owo the hero of this moment,
It
because
did.
she is the only one equipped to save them.
She was like, "Oh, I've been holding my breath for 10 minutes. I don't need the oxygen right now. I'm good.
Oxygen.
I've been doing this since I was a kid. So y'all use all the oxygen you need. I'm holding it in 10 minutes at a time."
Like that, I think that aside from the fact that Black women run around saving the day, not just in real life, but in 32nd Century on Star Trek, thank you, Black women. But Owo being there and says, like, I'm ready, I'm prepared. Like, shout out to Nigeria again. This is the most Nigerian space show that we have. Nigerians in space. Let's just call it that. More Nigerians in space, please. But Owo shouting out the caves and saying, I've been doing this, for most of my life. Like, I'm prepared. Like, I don't need your little oxygen bottle. I'm good. Like, give me a little sippy sip, and then I'm good. You guys can share that amongst yourselves. Owo having that, and then being the hero in that moment. But also shout out to the Dot 23, who are apparently my new favorite robots now.
They are the best.
It was just such a moment for her to show such strength there. And I love that it happened for Owo as a character. I love that it happened for Black women on Star Trek. I love that it happened for Nigerians in space. I love it all. Also, I'm going to apologize. Both my sisters are Virgos. I love you both.
You brought up the dots. Is this the first time in Star Trek that we've had a cute sidekick?
A sidekick robot?
Yeah, I think this is our first cute sidekick. If you don't want to count
I almost threw out a
sort of.
Doctor Who reference for a second, and I'm like, oh shit, wrong IP.
Well, if you go back into TNG, we have the exocomps, and the little thing that they did to save the Enterprise. I can't recall the episode, but it was 3 of them, and it was something going on with the ship, and they all communicate together, and the one goes in and sacrifices itself. and they like, oh, they're sentient beings, and then we see them again. We see Peanut Hamper in Lower Decks. So
But then we learned they're jerks.
yeah, they're jerks. But well, Peanut Hamper was a jerk,
Yeah.
but we do see the dot 23s as a play on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're so cute.
And I love it. They are cute, and I just love how, you know, the dot 23, because Owo was like, you can't be here, like this is getting ready to kill you. We don't see the dot 23 save Owo, but we see it afterwards, and she's like, oh, you saved my life. And the things, it's like, oh, it was an honor.
Yes.
And then it died, and I was like, oh, dot 23.
It's
Didn't
interesting. The dot 23 gets more sort of respect as a sentient being than the Doctor from Voyager at the beginning.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong.
Oh, no.
Like the dot 23s, and we say that, but we're really conflating them. Like the dot 23 in this episode isn't just the dot 23, it's the sphere data. It's a precursor to Zora. If y'all have not watched the Calypso short trek, please
Go
do that
watch.
right now, because otherwise what we're saying is not going to make sense to you. But Zora in the future is very sentient and might as well be a whole person just with no body, just like an electronic artificial intelligence that we see cares deeply for the Discovery crew. Like at this point, with a physical embodiment in the dot 23 robot, like that's another crew member right there. Like the
Yeah.
ship is literally a part of the crew now.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Shaniqua, you
good stuff.
were saying something?
I thought it was interesting that the bot said that I carried you. And I know that may seem kind of insignificant, but to me, that was just, I don't know, it kind of reminded me that sometimes we can't always do things alone and that we'll need support in one way or another. And sometimes we get support in places that we didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was an interesting point.
Yep. How powerful are the dot 23s though? They're so tiny and carried well that far.
You know, I'm going to be sacrilegious for a second and say that I wish they would redo original Star Trek and do some CGI dot sevens in the background. So because they fit so well with Star Trek,
They do.
and it's like it's something that I feel like the other shows would have done had it been technically possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to see, you know, Scotty with like a couple of dot sevens or something like that. Like, to give me a short trek about why Scotty doesn't like dot sevens or something. Just because I feel like they fit so perfectly in Star Trek, and it's about time we have them.
That's very true. I'd love to see them in every Star Trek series going forward, including Picard. Find a way to get them on, you know, whatever ship they're on. Let's get some dot 23s, some dot 7s, some dot 10s, whatever iteration they are at that point, because they're some awesome little robots.
Additionally, I want to point out that the dot 23s that finally made, you know, their epic important appearance goes back to what I was saying on a previous episode. The opening credits are a clue. If y'all are watching the opening credits closely, you need to watch the opening credits more closely. The dot 23 was featured as a new addition to the Star Trek Discovery opening credits this season. You see the dot 23s, and then you see their importance later on. And that's not the first time they've done this with the opening credits. So I am looking very much forward to deconstructing the season 4 credits when season 4 rolls around, because stuff that you see in the credits doesn't necessarily appear in the first episode, and it changes, and their significance as to what's happening on Discovery in the show, it's an indicator. Even the episodes that we have and we go to the mirror universe, we get mirror credits. We get reverse credits that shows that we're in the mirror universe. Everything is inverted in colors, everything is backwards or upside down. The credits are a big indicator as to what's going to happen on a show. Watch closely. It's not just the background, it's the credits, small things. And I know some people skip credits. Don't skip the credits. Just watch them at least once.
Why would
They-
you want to skip the credits? The music is fantastic.
I get tired of the same thing. I skip them. I am a Netflix
Blasphemy.
skip intro. I'm that person.
Blasphemy. Watch the credits.
Sorry.
What do we think about the whole thing with the turbo lift and the fight scene
Ooh.
that happened in the turbo lift? Like that whole action sequence for me,
G.I. Michael
that was epic.
delivery.
It's Die Hard in space.
Yeah.
It's Die Hard in space. That's what I think. It's Die Hard in space. Burnham McLean,
Yeah.
McLean Burnham, Die Hard.
Yep.
This time we had book. However, you know, that's my man, and he showed himself well in this episode in that fight scene in the turbo lift. My question though is, how big is that?
I know.
The inside
How
of
big
the
is a
ship.
turbo lift shaft? Like it's like
that
the
was
whole ship.
Huge.
Yeah, that was
And-
huge. I was like, are they really this big? I recall it being just,
It's a TARDIS.
you know, slightly bigger than Jeffrey's tubes.
Well,
It's a whole nother
It's
world.
much bigger on the inside.
Yes,
thing
yes, Shaniqua, it is a TARDIS. Okay. Because there's no, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, so clearly the Discovery must be the size of a small city because I don't know where this is coming from.
I have, in regards to the the shaft itself and all the stuff that was going on in there, it might explain some things that I've personally noticed about Discovery. I mean, I've mentioned it. I was like, why do Tilly and Michael share quarters? Is Discovery not big enough for everybody to have their own quarters? Why does Reese need to win? Like, where is the space? It's a whole ship. You have a whole ship. What do you mean you don't have quarters? The fact that this takes so much space and Discovery's unique spore drive technology may change how the ship is built from what we're
Yeah.
used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more thing I noticed is that the whole thing with the turbo lifts and all the space inside the turbo lifts, I giggled a little bit because to me that was this little meta Galaxy Quest reference. I assume that at least some of you guys have seen Galaxy
Mhm.
Quest. And when they
Yes.
run at in the third act of Galaxy Quest, and he has to go through the chompers to get to the corridor, and I'm like, and
Ridiculous obstacle
I was like,
course.
why is this here? This shouldn't be here. Because it's on the show, then it's in the ship. This ridiculous thing is on the ship because it's in the show, and you have to get through it. It's just there, just because that's how sci-fi ships are. So I thought that was really funny and interesting. It's like, and I'm good with it because even having that in Galaxy Quest, like we understand that people have to go through ridiculous things on the ship. There's always some Jeffrey's tube, some core, some place that you have to get through, and there are all these ridiculous obstacles on the ship that you have to go through to get to it. It's a funny little meta reference, and I don't know if that was the intention, but I found it.
And we've got Booker having, you know, a nice little fight, and we lose. Somebody falls off or gets kicked off.
Oh no.
Bye, Zara.
Oh,
Bye.
Bye.
Sorry,
So
try from
sad.
behind.
Oh no.
He shouldn't have talked trash on Grudge.
Oh,
He
no.
shouldn't
You
have
know what?
trashed
I
Grudge.
actually,
you know,
I really like that
she's a
there's,
queen. She's a queen.
I
If
like
that's
that
not a T-shirt soon, it has to be.
we have a cat daddy on the show, a guy, you know, who's masculine, but at the same time loves his cat. And his cat is his queen. I think that's a really good, you know, I think that's a really good example for the
think-
watchers of the show.
I think the cat is actually a queen. I'm sorry. I don't think it's really a cat. I don't think Grudge is really a cat. I'm 100% serious about this. I think that line coming up multiple times in the show,
Is
I
a
think
hint.
she is literally going to be a queen.
Maybe
I
that's
mean,
something
I'm-
that'll be explored in season 4. Because I thought that would come out season 3, but okay, maybe season 4 we'll see. Because he has that connection with things. So it's like there's really no telling what the cat could be.
'Cause she could be a cat and a queen, and
Well,
he's
yeah.
he's just able to talk to cats.
That's true.
That's
Well,
true.
because I thought about how much focus Grudge has gotten throughout the season. Like everyone notices Grudge, and anyone insults Grudge. Grudge is like, you know, Book tells Michael, "I keep telling you, she's a queen," and I'm like, I think this is a literal reference. But speaking of Book, so we have the torture scene in the sick bay, and you know, we talked about this, I believe Dre and Travis brought it up last episode review we did about how we always see Book in these sort of precarious situations all season.
Once again, I'm like, are y'all really gonna kill this man in front of his lady? Are okay? Can you not? I was close to a heart attack this entire episode, but that was one of the scenes where it really was getting to me. I'm like, they might kill this character who's been here the whole season and has had a very important role this entire season and is a key. So, the where we see Book start at the beginning of the season and then where we see him end in this final episode is so important. But they had him in peril, and I almost passed out, honestly, because it was just a lot to see him going through that. And then you see Michael watching him, and she's like, I have to do something. I don't know what. And so you kind of see her mind running and trying to come up with the plan. How do I save my man? Because this is not gonna work for me seeing him perish like this, especially with him being in so much pain.
Yeah, but I mean, Michael does the same thing again. She's like, okay, well, he's just going to have to endure while I do this. And she goes up to him and she says, you know what? I'm sorry, but it's going to get worse. And, she stabs him in the chest with a bit of adrenaline to get him going, which, if you read any descriptions about what adrenaline does to your body after it wears off, that in addition to the torture, Michael was excellent. And regarding Book at the end of the episode, I have some comments about the end result for him, and I'll wait till we get closer to that section before I mention it.
I want to go back a little bit before we get too far away from it. I want to talk about the bridge crew and seeing them work together. Like, this is an opportunity that we don't get a lot of, to see the bridge crew interact with each other, to see how they play off each other as they're, trying to get towards the bridge. They're trying to reestablish life support. Just seeing them work together was very big for me. I think finally that we're starting to get to know the bridge crew. They even have, I think I have a GIF of this somewhere. I don't know if I posted already. They even have an Avengers style hero shot where they're all in the hallway. You can see them all with the guns, like a Charlie's Angels. Like, everybody is there. You can see them together. And I think that's really important, because myself, you guys, a lot of people have said, we don't know much about the bridge crew. We don't see them do anything together. On other shows, the bridge crew, they hang out. Like, we saw them party a little bit season 1, but on The Next Generation, people went to Worf's Tai Chi class. We play poker in Riker's quarters. Like, on DS9, they hang out in Vic's casino bar lounge. Like, I want to see more of the crew together, not necessarily on duty, but just together, just bouncing off each other. I thought that was a very good thing, that we're establishing more of the bridge crew camaraderie.
But not for everyone, though, right? If you think back to that area, Bryce, I don't think has any speaking lines in the finale. I think the new person we don't recognize has more lines than Bryce. I think, as Travis says, Bryce was just there with his fate. So
new person that we don't recognize is Lieutenant Ina. There's some debate as to what Lieutenant Ina's position is. They're mentioned by name only once by Michael. My theory is that they are the new head of security since Nan left. Some people say that they are actually on Spore Ops, much like Nilsson, wherever Nilsson was this episode. But
MIA.
well, she was at the very end.
Yeah, she was at the end. But
yeah, but before that, when was the last time we
Yeah,
saw
I
her?
don't know where she was.
Like, I don't
was
think we
gone.
saw her. Maybe episode 10. Like,
Yeah. But
Oh,
I
yeah, it
think
has been a
the
while since I've seen
theory of her being the new head of security fits best, because if there's one thing you're gonna have a captain, a first officer, a helmsman, and a head of security. You're gonna have those 4 on the bridge, at the very minimum, I mean, we can really, just kind of roll with that theory. At least that's what I'm gonna roll with.
I was just saying, Bryce is the communications officer.
Yes,
I mean,
he is.
he's the
Bryce is
Uhura of the bridge. He needs to communicate from time to time.
He needs to-
Yeah.
Just
He
saying.
had no lines, and it felt like I was watching it, and that I picked up on immediately. I was like, I'm seeing Rice is speaking, Owo, Detmer, Tilly, new person, Lieutenant Ina, who at the time, honestly, I did not know her name. So that's when I was watching the episode. It was like new person,
I had to
and
dig through the
Bryce
internet to
doesn't
find that
speak.
name.
And so I was wondering, and if let's say the theory of Ina being the head of security is true, why go and try to establish a new character? Why couldn't, like, if possible, I don't know if the actress who plays Nan is available or not, but if she was, wouldn't it be worth it to bring her back in the role because the audience is familiar with Nan?
Mhm.
I was talking with some people on Twitter about this, and apparently the actress that plays Ina is already on payroll and has played aliens on the show before. So it's not like they literally went out and hired somebody, brought them in just for this. Like that person was already there. And again, as far as I'm hearing, I think it's scheduling conflicts with the actress that plays Nilsson, so she just wasn't available for those episodes. Maybe they just thought that we would notice, but we be noticing things.
I
We
noticed.
do.
I'm like,
We really do. We really
who's a
do.
stranger? I don't know you.
Why are you
Stranger
Hey, on
danger.
Twitter,
Who
Grace,
are you?
Harpo, who this woman?
Who's this woman? Harpo, like, come on.
Especially when Owo said, I love you all. I'm like, but
Who? You love this person that we just met
You
today?
love the random that's just
Right.
kind of here? Really?
I honestly thought she was going to get red shirt. I was like, okay, so this is the scene's red shirt.
Yes.
She's probably not going to make it.
Somebody had to.
And
I
Dre,
mean,
I
I
thought
thought
about you the whole
Owo was
time.
I thought Owo was gonna perish. I was like,
Oh,
don't
I was
do
scared.
my
Look,
girl.
I was
Don't do that.
scared.
I did. I thought she was going to. Oh my
But
god.
I thought about you, Dre, with the look with Detmer and Owo.
Look,
Oh, listen.
Oh, let's talk about that. Let's talk about it.
They keep
Let's talk
teasing
They're
us
about
lovers.
with that. Why do
Look,
they keep
I'm-
teasing us with this look? Like, what is it gonna lead to?
Yes. So here's my thing, and I've seen people on Twitter saying, "Oh, well, it's cool. I kind of wish they should be friends, though." I'm like, so you're not really cool with it, right? And my problem is this, which I'm not saying that you got to put these two together romantically necessarily, but it's just another problem with the fandom telling LGBT plus women, be quiet, you don't need to have this. And I'm like, yeah, actually we do. Who doesn't want, how many times have we said representation matters, right? So we already have with Paul and Hugh, we have Adira who's non-binary. Kudos for that. We have the trans character. We're having the black characters. We're seeing the Asian characters and everything like that. So why can't we have even more diversity, even more representation? And
Yeah.
I get it. Friendship is very important, including between, women, men, all that stuff. But we've gotten plenty of friendships, quality friendship relationships in Star Trek. There's Julian and Miles, Kirk and Spock, Data and Geordi. So
Garrick.
yeah, Bashir and
Yeah.
Garrett. We have Kira and Jadzia. So yeah, Kira and Jadzia. We have, Crusher and Troy. So we have all these great friendships between men, women, and just that's been on display throughout all of Star Trek. But what we haven't seen yet is a lesbian relationship or two women, who, love each other, care about each other in a romantic way. And
There's always. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, and as a gay woman, I do want to see that. I want to see a black gay woman who's not just simply a side character, because in this episode we saw how important Owo was in her role. And it would just be really, really nice to see that. And we've been getting the looks between these two, and we've been seeing this chemistry and their interactions with each other pretty much from, I want to say, early in season 2 all the way till now. And it's hard to ignore it. I'm not sure if the actors were like, we don't want our characters to just be on screen, and if maybe they're just kind of doing this, friendship type deal with each other. But you don't have to look hard to see the relationship between these two, and it just really leaves you, wondering. Because I'm sorry, if my life was in danger and I come out of it, and the first person that I see, it's like, oh, you're alive, so are you, and then we hug each other and we're the first ones that we acknowledge. It just might be something there. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, okay.
I'm gonna
Dre,
shut
I'm
up.
sorry.
Rodney.
That's part of the reason. I mean, I've been on Twitter shipping Nilsson and Bryce, and the reason I've done it, there's two reasons. One is because I watched one of the shows that they did with Will Wheaton, where the whole cast was interacting, and the guy who plays Bryce said something, and the woman who plays Nilsson had this reaction that was kind of like I don't know, it just kind of like sparked the imagination. And what you were talking about, Dre, to me, I'd like to see a relationship that looks like my family.
Right.
And and I'm happy at all of the representation we see on the show, and I would like to just see more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have just you may not like me for this one, but I don't want Oo and Detmer to get together either. And before you kill me, let me tell you why. I am really, really enjoying the will they, won't they, are they, aren't they aspect of this. I like the look. I like that. I love it. And every time I catch it, it makes me giddy. I absolutely adore it. And I want to keep that mystery. And the reason why is that I am literally afraid. Discovery is doing so well with representation, so well. I feel like if they throw another ball into the air with Oo and Detmer, that they may crash to the ground, and that the relationship between them might get the shorter end of the stick, because now we have to show those two and Culber and Stamets and Adira and Gray and everybody else. And I don't think they will get the kind of representation they deserve in that relationship. I would rather leave it to the fans. AO3 people, this is your cue.
That's
Give
it.
me all the Oo, Detmer / fic. Give me Mirror Oo and every damn body / fic. I think it will be great. I think that the fandom will take that relationship to places that the writers never could. And that is what I want to read. Now, again, please don't kill me. That's not to say I don't want to see lesbians on Discovery. I really do. But the lesbians I want to see on Discovery, I want to know more about Reno's wife. I want a short trek showing me about Reno and her relationship before she got on Discovery. I want to learn more about the crew that we already have. I want to see that. Show me those lesbians, please.
I think
You
I
know,
think that's one of the main criticisms I have is I want to see more of the life of the crew. I of course I do enjoy Michael being the focus of the show, but I want to learn more about these background characters so we can love them just as much as we love Michael.
Hmm.
yeah.
I would say that I do think Star Trek should make a concerted effort to give the audience a lesbian or bisexual character, right? Because if you think about the women we've seen in relationships of that type, they're always one-offs, right? It's Jadzia in Rejoined with
Mhm.
her partner that used to be her husband when she was, or no, used to be her husband.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We have the Intendant Kira, we have Giorgio, but they're all sort of wrapped in these either problematic women or just one-offs, and then we just forget about it, and we have the determination that they're just clearly straight. And so I think Star Trek should take the time to do that, and I think it is powerful to use someone of color, because we have enough, I would say, enough white representation when it comes to LGBT people, and we very rarely have it for black actors and black characters, outside of the shows like Noah's Ark, and others. And so I think that is an area where we can have some improvement in Star Trek.
Yeah, and I will say, Grace, I'm not upset with you about that, because you actually gave a valid reason as to why you feel the way you do. It's just that a lot of what I saw was just simply writing off, oh well, they're fine as friends, but and I didn't consider that. So you brought up a very valid point that I'm like, oh, she. And just, as soon as you said your reason why, I was like, that is very valid, because how often do we see the few characters of color or LGBT women kind of get pushed to the side? Now, I will say, going into a different series with Picard, we kind of see
With
that
Rafi and
we
Seven.
might be getting Rafi and Seven, maybe. So hopefully that's there. But yes, I agree with what you said, Tia. It would be very wonderful to have an actual LGBT woman on screen, a main character, and not just kind of in the background, secondary character, or she appears for a few episodes and then that's it. We don't see her. We don't see her anymore.
I mean, if Discovery has pushed the bar for representation or raised the bar for representation, why stop now?
Right.
Let's just keep going. That way, I mean, as we've discussed, okay, this takes place in the future. We want to see the future that we want to be a part of. And so I think I'm with you, Dre and Tia, that I think that this would be a good opportunity for Star Trek, and hopefully, one of the writers is listening and taking some notes.
Yeah. So I guess we should probably get back into some of the finale things. I'm thinking about Mr. Stamets.
Oh
boy.
All
Let's
right,
talk.
hold on.
So
Trey, I know you got words. I know you got it.
This
got a
guy.
lot of
So
words.
he first appears in the episode at Starfleet headquarters, and he runs into the middle of, I guess, their bridge, their con area, where he comes to Dadmiral and says, we have to go back. We have to go back to the planet. Please, please. Now, these people are in the middle of fighting the Emerald Chain. And the people who are left on Discovery's lives are hanging in the balance at this point. That's where we open with Stamets. Any sort of thoughts about, his character and where we're going in the rest of the episode with him?
Mostly the audacity. Man, you.
Oh my God.
The
Let me pick a
caucasity.
sentence to start with.
The caucasity.
You
That's what I
woke
call it.
up when Dadmiral Vance is over here in the middle of fighting the Emerald Chain to tell him what you think he should do. You, sir, are not running the show here. Who do you think you are rolling up telling the Admiral what to do? I will tell you something about Mr. Can you tell? I have thoughts about this. I will tell you something about Mr. Stamets. Mr. Stamets was conscripted into Starfleet for the war. He's an astrobiologist. He was a private citizen. Starfleet said, this technology for the spore drive, we want it. Now you're in Starfleet. He never went to the academy. He never did all that schooling that everybody else did. Those Starfleet values that they drill into you. Who do you think you are sashaying up onto the ops of the bridge or whatever we're going to call it, telling Vance what he needs to do? Like, I understand that that is your family, but also this is not your place. Do not be that entitled white gay. Do not be that Stamets, because I like Stamets. Anthony Rapp, I like you. You are acting the shit out of this. But no, Stamets, don't do it. Don't do it. Somebody else. I need to take a breath. Somebody else go.
I think
it was-
mostly.
I think it was also something that drove a little bit further and made Vance realize when he sees Stamets roll up and the fact that he's not on the ship, he knew, okay, Michael had something to do with this. I'm sure. I know she did. And it was the right decision. So y'all take him and put him far, far away from here. I forgot where Vance told him to send Stamets, but he agreed right then and there. He was like, "No, we need to get you as far away from here as possible." So it just further showcased Michael doing what needed to be necessary.
Yep.
But yeah, he was very entitled. He rolled up. I was like, "You just came incorrect, sir."
It's not as if he hasn't been in a war and he understands the stakes of the moment. He truly does. But to sort of center himself in that when so many lives hang in the balance, I'm not gonna lie, it feels like the guy was introduced to the show as kind of an asshole. Stamets was, right? He was very arrogant. But he understood what was going on. So this one felt a little out of place for me. I mean, it fits well with his behavior in episode 12, don't get me wrong. But his complete sort of, screw all the lies that are out there trying to protect Discovery and protect the rest of the galaxy, essentially, from the Emerald Chain, it felt a little weird for me.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how much of it is him still dealing with his own issues from losing Hugh and then having him come back. While it is out of character for what we've seen from him, it's just also like, well, he's dealing with his own issues with getting his husband back, which I understand completely, but it's kind of being showcased as him centering himself around everything and trying to get everyone around him to do that too, which is unfair to everyone else, in my opinion.
Go ahead, Ray. I know you got
Oh yeah, I have words for Stamets. It seems very much that he was projecting a lot, which happens way too much in real life. But definitely the part that got me, that made me roll my eyes and almost throw the remote at the TV, was when Adira, Hugh and Paul reunite, and they're in the sick bay, and Michael's doing her rounds, and just the lovely ending that we've been looking for, and they look at each other, and he looks at her and kind of like, yeah, whatever, and gives her this stank eye, and I was like, oh, so we have beef. Is that what was happening now? Like, because she made a decision that you didn't like, which saved all of us, okay, including the ones that you loved. Just dismiss her, and you give her this eye roll, and you could tell that it hurt her. She made this like, oh, really? And it was like emotional, and I felt that. I felt that deeply.
Shaniqua?
My thing is, it's like Stamets forgot that Culber made that decision on his own. Nobody forced Culber to go and, figure out what was going on with the burn. It's like, I don't know, like you said earlier, the audacity that he had, and I want to be sympathetic to his character. He had already lost Culper before, didn't want to go through that again. And that's something that he even said is like, I lost you once, I don't want to lose you again. But it's like, no one forced anybody to make that decision. And at the end of the day, she made the right decision. And even the Admiral told him, Michael Burnham made the right decision. She did what she was supposed to do. So I don't know. I've been kind of frustrated, even though I love Anthony Rapp, like you guys have said. I've been kind of frustrated with his character arc a little bit because to me, his change wasn't gradual. He just kind of like went from the asshole to being decent. And then we see him having this loving relationship with Adira, but at the same time, you lose that entire quality when you're dealing with Michael. I'm frustrated with him a little bit with his character. I understand that characters are complex and they're not always going to be the same, but I would like for them to choose what mode he's going to be on and stick with it.
I mean, I agree. I don't know if I agree with the fact that it's a completely out of character for Stamets. I mean, we all know Stamets, like in the beginning, going up to, I guess, just after Hugh came back from the Mycelium Network, he was kind of an asshole. And I think that is very much part of his character, and that his relationship with Hugh tempers him and makes him less of an asshole, and that his relationship with Adira tempers him and makes him less of an asshole. So in the event that we neither have Hugh nor Adira in play, then he just reverts to being a self-important asshole. You have Stamets, who is the only one who can run the spore drive. It doesn't work without him. So he has that self-importance. This is something that only I can do. And that makes me a very important person on the ship. So we should listen to me because I have this status. I think he carries that with him. And that's what gave him the audacity to march all up in Admiral Vance's face and say, you all need to do this. But now that we have Booker, who can also operate the spore drive, I think next season that may knock him down a few pegs. You're not as important as you think you are. Maybe throw some of that audacity away.
Yeah, it just it
That's-
irked me so much though, because when we get
Yeah.
to the moment, the culmination of 3 years of Michael Burnham saving the universe, right? Stopping the Federation from committing genocide against the Klingons, going to the future, being right, by the way, about firing first on the Klingons.
Yeah.
You know, we have the 3 years of her on this
Yep.
journey, and we finally get to the moment where she is made Captain Michael Burnham. And there is Stamets just still giving her the look as if he's disappointed that she was made captain. And it just left a bad taste in my mouth because it's just like, here, this woman has done so much. You know her. You know she wouldn't leave Hugh and Adira to die maliciously. You understand that she has to do what she can to save everyone. That's who Michael Burnham is.
Yep.
And you treat her like trash. Like she did fail up, just to harken back to our earlier conversation. And it, wow, I'm starting to get upset again. I'm getting, and you know, I said this on Twitter, but I don't understand like why this has to be the conflict. Like, why is this worthy of moving into the 4th season, essentially? Because if we're ending the 3rd like this must be something that they plan to carry on into the next season. And so, what is the payoff of this conflict?
I'm gonna need to follow up.
I'm gonna need some. Yeah, I'm gonna need some
Y'all
huge
gonna need to
payoff.
sort that out because I can't have them angry at each other for this whole time. I don't want to be angry at Stamets. I want him to swallow his pride, realize that Michael did what he had to do, and let it go. But I know that's not gonna happen, and if it does happen, it's not gonna be easy.
Yeah.
I don't need those looks that he was given.
Like
Exactly.
That's what it was, you know, because you know your face tells a lot. I know I express everything on my face. It was like a dagger to her. Like, really? You know, you're supposed to be my people, and you just stabbed me really hard, you know, and you could see it hurt her. But as you were mentioning, Tia, we've got a new captain.
We do.
My girl.
Which,
My girl did it.
For Tilly in that moment when
Ooh,
they get
that
the
was good.
ship back, which the fight scene between Michael, uh,
Osira?
Osiris,
Osira,
yeah,
that was good.
man, she pushed her
Ah,
into the data.
Oh,
Into the
this
data.
one,
And
this one. I
I'm
think
just
Grace
like,
said it. It needed Michelle Yeoh. I think Grace mentioned this on Twitter. This one needed a Michelle Yeoh because it was choppy. Like
just a little bit, just a
it's
little
like
bit.
hiya. Oh crap. Hiya.
It was still good though because we see Michael facing off against this season's big baddie, right? Which was needed for her character, I think, especially in this season finale, knowing what we know now and her being promoted to captain, rightly so. It was kind of one of those things where it's like she actually can on her own take on any problematic person. If she needs to do something by herself, she's going to do it. And she prevailed. Like we knew she would because you see the little data portion she gets pushed into, it just kind of goes still and Osiris walking away and then the next thing you see her phasers coming out is pointing out and she's boo boo and bye Osiris.
My
Bye.
girl
What was that sound effect again?
programmable matter,
I
okay?
need that sound
Boo-boo.
effect.
She drowned
That's
in
the
it.
sound effect. Boo boo. But she comes out of it spitting out little chunks of the stuff, and then she makes it to the bridge, and the bridge crew is there too, and they're trying to figure out, okay, Osiris done. The ship is in her ship though, so how do we get out of it? And when she says we're gonna, because Tilly's like, I need you to lead. You have to lead us. Which kudos to Tilly for realizing I'm in over my head. I don't have a plan for any of this at this point. I'm not experienced enough. I don't have the ability. So Michael, please lead us. And when she said eject the warp core, everybody was like, what?
Girl,
What?
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 Excuse
Like, how we
you?
gonna get out of here with no warp core?
Yes, and how genius was it for them to say we're gonna have Book do it? Big arc for him from when we see him, you hit my ship, to yes, I'm the only one that can do it. I'm gonna do it. Let me get down there. Big arc for him. I absolutely loved it. It was a phenomenal way to showcase just how important he is to not just Michael, but to the crew.
He
Mhm.
handled his business, and now he has a legitimate role on the ship. Not that he was there
Yes.
illegitimate or anything, but now he has like an actual role. Like
And he was
Yes.
looking nice and
specialist
snazzy in his
booker.
outfit.
Right?
I think he's ready
He
to
had
get
like
his
a
bag.
dress.
Like I like that
He
he's
had
still
like
in all black.
it was like a civilian dress tunic.
As I don't know about that. But one thing I want to say before we move on, before we move on in regards to Osira, and we had mentioned this earlier that Osira is desperate, flailing, becoming unhinged, and that just escalates throughout the episode. We have the slap, and then girlfriend is gangster. Girlfriend chokes out Aurelio and says, "I hope you
Yes.
remember that when you
Oh,
wake up."
Oh yeah.
Chokes
Yeah, go
him
to sleep.
out.
Go to
Look
sleep.
at, look at him in the eye. That's some Darth Vader kind of stuff. It's hard stuff. And then after that, then the next escalation is forcing Michael backwards into the programmable matter. I don't know how strong Orions are, but goddamn, there is a reason why Osira is the head of the chain. This is a strong woman, okay? And I
Well,
will give her props for that.
it goes back to Travis's parallels because we
Mm.
see how that situation has been these last few days with that individual, and then we see how Osira was these last few, those last few moments of time on Discovery, trying desperately, just desperately, to have the ship, have control of everything, and just solidify her position as head of Emerald Chain with the hopes of merging with Starfleet and being head of Emerald Chain Starfleet.
I mean, technically, didn't they storm the Capitol? Starfleet headquarters?
They,
Mm.
oh, the parallel. The parallel.
I mean, how
Oh.
strange is it that this episode happened when it did?
Yes. The universe, I don't think they could have, well, obviously they didn't plan it, but the parallels between it is certainly uncanny and a bit, I'm giving it the side eye right now, like this really is going down like this. But yeah, I, absolutely loved it. And I tweeted this out that this episode, because seeing with Michael putting on the uniform, stepping onto the bridge, and having the crew
Cheers.
right there on both sides. I'm 38, gonna be 39 in March. And I tweeted this out that I'm gonna be going to film school, right? In my personal life, 2020 didn't really affect me because I've had a lot of struggles these last several years, about 6, 7 years, all of this and that. And when I thought back to where Michael started in season 1 and where she is now, it just hit home for me that, like her, I've been through so much. But here I am getting ready to start film school, and she's getting ready to start her journey as captain of this ship. And her being on screen, going through all that, getting her due after all of that hard work, the ups and downs, the tragedy of her childhood, it just hit home for me on so many levels. And to see that on screen just gives me so much hope to know that I have it within me, which I already knew. It's like I've made it this far, so I'm only going to continue to go upwards. But to see it on screen in someone that reflects who you are, it's phenomenal. It's heartwarming, and it just reinforces self confidence, perseverance, determination. And I cannot believe that I saw history being made on my TV screen Thursday night, and I absolutely loved it. I can't I can't state enough, you guys. I really can't state enough how much it hit home for me and how I was just nearly in tears.
It is your time.
Right.
Use your time.
There we go.
It was just phenomenal, and I can only imagine what it did for little black and brown girls everywhere who watched it. And it's beautiful.
It really is.
Absolutely phenomenal work.
I agree with you, Dre, because honestly, lately, like within the past few years, I've been seeing more representation of Black women on television that I can relate to. But there was always that little geeky, nerdy piece that I felt was missing. And I really, to me, I felt like Michael Burnham is the first time that I felt truly connected and truly represented by a character on television, because I just think that she perfectly encompasses what a Black woman is. Sometimes we have to be Captain Save-A-Ho, where we have to do everything for everybody because nobody else is going to do it. And then sometimes we have to be emotional, or sometimes we feel overly emotional, or sometimes we have to completely lack emotion and do the most logical thing. And so I just really, seeing her in this journey over these past 3 seasons, like I said on Twitter, I just felt like, wow, I see myself. I feel completely validated. And like when Vance said that, when Admiral Vance spoke about his daughter, and he said that, she drew pictures instead of doing the numbers, And he said, you know, she didn't do things the right way. She did it her way, and it still worked. And so I just feel like when he gave that speech, I felt like it was a love letter to Black women, and in particular to all marginalized people, because there's more than one right way to do something. And sometimes if someone has prejudice or blind spots, they may not understand where a person of color or a Black woman or a marginalized person is coming from. So I just, the episode was right on time. The ending hit me right in the feels. I mean, you almost cried, but I was sobbing. Like I really was. Just, I mean, seeing like Burnham lost both of her parents. She was, you know, she was put in jail, you know, ostracized,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
now and coming from all of that history to now she is the captain. It's like we all sat in that captain's chair with her because we've all been in that experience where we've struggled, or we've come from nothing, or we've lost so much. And it's like, you know, as a person who's not in the industry, like we got that promotion, or we finally got that acknowledgement from our peers. It really hit home for me.
Very cathartic episode.
And the acting is another part that we should discuss. Sonequa, she was
Ooh.
killing it.
Yes.
She was
I mean-
killing it. You could see the difference and feel the difference of Michael in that moment when they've rescued everyone and she goes to see Admiral Vance and comes across Lieutenant Sile,
Yes.
you
that
know,
was such
which is a
great
throwback to the
moment.
first episode of the season.
I was really hoping they would find him again. I was
Yes.
hoping that he wouldn't just be left. I was like, whatever happened to that dude?
I
I'm
hope
so
he joins
glad
the ship,
he made
honestly.
it to Starfleet headquarters.
I hope he joins the ship. But you see in that scene and in that scene where she's coming onto the bridge as the captain, and it's palpable how much joy and pride Michael is feeling. And that scene requires the actor to be able to illustrate that. And it worked so well. Like Sonequa she looked beautiful. You know, she's just so happy. And when she sits in that chair, you can feel Michael's confidence that she is ready, that she's going to go and do everything that is required to make this new federation better. And I appreciated that scene so much. You know, I mentioned when we were talking to Wilson that I was in my room at 7:45, 7:30 in the morning yelling, because I was just so happy. And this is the first time, other than when Michael gets her commission back at the end of the first season, that I just felt overwhelmed with happiness that finally she is getting something she deserves.
It was also one of those things where Michael also had the doubt, because she had that moment. She was like, well, I have to think about it. And Admiral Vance is like, you don't have time to think about it. We have things we have to do. We have new planets that we have to go see. We have 15 planets that need our help. They might join the Federation for the first time, or they might rejoin the Federation, which we saw Trill rejoin the Federation. Yay, Trill. And Navarre is considering it. Yay. So he was like, I need an answer right now. And again, kudos with the writing for Michael's character, because we all have doubts, especially as Black women. It's our experience. We always ask ourselves, it's not just, am I qualified? Am I capable? It's also, will I get the respect that I've earned? Will I get my peers to respect me? The people who are going to be under me, are they going to mind my authority, or are they going to try and be backstabby? So I also appreciate that little bit of a hesitation, because again, it reflects the Black woman's experience.
But it's also a parallel to earlier in the season when they get to the future. You know, Pike stayed behind, and they had a
Yes.
discussion of who was going to lead the crew, right? And Michael didn't take the step forward to take the mantle up. And I'm glad they gave her that moment to do so, This episode was about the parallels, which is why we had the same title as the season opener, That Hope Is You, Part 2. So we get to harken back to the past and see how Michael has sort of fallen into this future, this new time, and has been changed by what she's experienced over these last 13 episodes.
Yes, I totally agree with that. It's come full circle for her. Come full circle for her, and I cannot wait to see what they do with not just her, but the whole crew, really, coming up in season 4. And I love her little signature
Her
that she
catchphrase.
says, "Let's fly." I work in aviation, so for me, I was like, "Oh, let's fly!" Yay!
But
I
I
loved it.
love that
I need
moment
that.
because you see she sits down, right?
She's like,
and her mouth is open, like it's there, and she knows it's there, and she's debating a tiny bit whether or not this is it, and she's like, you know what, I'm going with it. Let's fly.
It's natural to her.
It is. And that's also, with the problem with Saru. Saru couldn't come up with the correct catchphrase. And that
everyone who
served
said
as
was awkward as hell.
it was. It was. And it was how the writers were showing us that, maybe Saru's not ready yet because he doesn't have the phrase, which is a sort of arbitrary detail to associate with being ready for captaincy. Like,
Do you have the phrase down pat?
like you don't
No,
have
you ain't got it.
engaged,
You have
not even
one?
engaged, dude.
Does it
Like,
work?
come on.
You ain't got it. Next.
Right?
All right. So I think we covered a good chunk of the episode, but I do want to close by reading one of the quotes that Michael is using at the end of the episode. It's, I assume, her log, her captain's log. I can't wait to hear Captain's log starting. I'm so excited. But it is what I would say the description of what we were supposed to take away from this season. She says, disconnection. That is how this future began. One moment in time that radiated outward until no one even remembered that connection was possible anymore. But it is. The need to connect is at our core as sentient beings. It takes time, effort, and understanding. Sometimes it feels impossible, but if we work at it, miracles can happen.
And
That's
then,
my girl.
Period.
Yeah, and then there was what they put at the very end of the
Roddenberry.
episode, that Roddenberry
Oh.
quote. And I have it
Indeed.
here. In a very real sense, we are all aliens on a strange planet. We spend most of our lives reaching out and trying to communicate. If during our whole lifetime we could reach out and really communicate with just 2 people, we are indeed very fortunate. Gene Roddenberry. 2 very, very, very powerful ways to just communicate a lot of what we've been seeing lately, in my opinion. There has been a lot of disconnect lately. There has been a lot of struggle with communication. And that's why I tweeted out that this not only gave me gave me hope for myself, yes, but also gives me hope for the country, gives me hope for the world. And that's exactly what makes Star Trek, and why we all love it so much.
That's it. That concludes our review of the Star Trek Discovery Season 3 finale, That Hope Is You, Part 2. We'd also like to thank Wilson Cruz for joining us last episode. It was an amazing interview, and we feel extremely honored and privileged that he spent time with us during that episode.
Yeah, 2 shout outs this week. First to Michelle Paradise. She is the showrunner for Discovery, but she also wrote the season 3 finale episode, which was absolutely phenomenal and hit so many of us in our feels. And shout out also to Maxwell Mercy. He gave the podcast a huge shout out.
You know what we forgot to talk about?
Oh,
The uniform and that bad edit on Tilly's uniform.
Yo, it's got Twitter on fire.
No, but the blue in her uniform is CGI.
it's blue
Yes.
because it was when it was filmed. It's command red, but in the shot in the show, it's blue, but not very good. Like you can literally see the red outline. It's not good.
That is terrible.
Not good. And I would like to give a shout out to Jaron Ellers. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. At GShadow1 on Twitter, who helped me figure out exactly who Lieutenant Ina was. We are not entirely sure on what her position is, but myself and a lot of other people were confused as to this new person on the bridge. So thank you for helping me put a name to a face. Hopefully we learn more about Lieutenant Ina next season.
Thank you for joining us, everyone.
See you next week.
Bye.
Peace out.
Bye.